This is the same argument they made to get the House. It's just the same playbook over.
That's all they want.
And it's like you said, it's incredibly narrow, and it might work, but like, just to know, like, with the results that we have had on Tuesday and that we're hoping for, as these results roll in, I think everyone really needs to turn their attention to Shahid and like really start pushing for that campaign.
Yeah, I gave him $99.
If you can in any way help Shahid Buttar, it's an enormous uphill battle, but you could not imagine. I don't even know what that comparison would be. That would be like going from, I don't know. I don't even know, like a broken bicycle to a Ferrari. The level of representation that San Francisco would have in Congress, unless you're a tech oligarch, then you'll have a way less of a good time with Shahid Buttar in office. But it's like, he is great relative to Pelosi. He also would just be a great congressman. People really should see, he's got serious and real leadership potential.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And just serious commitment. He's a great candidate. And yeah, you guys are right. Look.
The other thing I was going to say is okay, so it might be a long shot this cycle, and who knows how long Pelosi's going to stick around anyway. But the organizing potential, if you're in his district, be a part of that, because he's a once in a lifetime candidate. We have a bunch of new, exciting members of the squad. I think Shahid, he would definitely be the one I'd be most excited about.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was AOC
Definitely.
in her interview with Sam was describing putting progressives in these deep blue safe districts, and how that creates a crack in sort of the, establishment of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, Pelosi's the Kraken.
Yeah.
Or Pelosi's the establishment Kraken.
Yeah, and I actually think, and again, this is why I always say, Dustin Gostal and I were talking about Sherrod Brown, the corollary actually really needs to be to start competing in competitive districts, but with a different playbook built on economic populism. But yeah, that's the other part of it, is just taking these
pincers.
Yeah. And look, Jamal Bowman over Elliot Engel, that's an insane upgrade. That is an incredible result.
Mondare over Nita Lowey even.
Yeah, Mondare over Lita. Yeah, these are huge. On the other hand, I will actually say the one. Well, let me just keep going on the positive front. And then obviously AOC had this CNBC anchor. That was ridiculous. So that was very nice to see her crush it. And we've got these ones coming up. We've got Andrew Romanoff. That's very important for him over Hickenlooper. We've talked about Shahid Buttar. Perlman taking on Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She's running a really energetic campaign. And of course, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is another, establishment poison. Unfortunately, I really supported Seaman. God, I can never remember. Semmelise Lopez. I thought was a great candidate. And she had real backing. Bernie and AOC endorsed her. Her background, how she came up, and her work as a housing advocate, to me was that. That was just another very exciting candidate. And we got, Richie Torres. It was better because there was a nightmare scenario in that district. There was actually a possibility of an anti-gay reactionary slipping through because of vote splitting and name recognition. So of course it's great he didn't win, but Torres, I'm really skeptical about, and his record in the city council is not great, particularly on issues like policing. And the irony is that Jose Serrano is a really good congressman. Jose Serrano, who retired because he had Parkinson's, unfortunately. I just want to note, he was a fierce advocate. Did a lot of anti-poverty work, was a great advocate of his district in the Bronx, was also instrumental on a number of real issues around human rights in Puerto Rico. He invited Hugo Chavez to visit his district when Chavez, visited the UN, and so was also a strong critic of U.S. foreign policy and interference in Latin America. And so he was a really good congressperson. That's the only sort of downgrade. And other people that made a dent that we have to look out for in the future are definitely, I would say, I really like Isaiah James and Lauren Ashcroft. I really appreciate their campaigns.
Yep.
I really, really appreciate their campaigns. And, and then there was other, like, the state is so important. I mean, Jabari Brisport getting in there, that's a huge win. Julia Salazar returning. And there needs to be more of that. I mean, people running on local and state level on left platforms. So that was great. And I mean, do we know the latest? What is the latest status with Charlie Brooker? I mean, that was the other exciting thing.
Charles Booker with, I think, about 70% of the vote in now is up 3.5%. He's up by 3,000 votes.
I mean, it's going to be look, guys, like, that's still like a 99-1 race. But I mean, if he is the nominee, talk about like the quintessential good versus evil race in the country. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
If I was Amy McGrath and a candidate who just turned out to be so much better than me in every single way was pulling ahead, I would simply concede the race to Booker and go about my merry way. And I don't know, be a MSNBC pundit or whatever her next.
Yeah, I'm sure she would get on MSNBC.
She's so. She's an ultimate insult. Like this whole like parachuted into like we can give this state a Democrat. Let's just make her like this generic work across the aisle person. Her existence is really insulting to me.
Yeah,
and I think she should go away.
To that point, to correct myself, it's 79% of the vote, and he's up by about 3,000 votes.
Okay.
If he pulls this off, this is according to Alex Salmon at the Prospect. If he pulls this off, no Senate committee pick has lost in over a decade, and nobody spent this much money and had such a deficit against them as Charles Booker in this race. So
in the first day, I believe it was the first interview that she announced on. I think it was on Morning Joe. I could be wrong, but I think it was on Morning Joe. She said, and it was very, very, very Democrat, very like too clever by half. Trump's popular in Kentucky. So she basically said, and she took, some of Trump's dishonest populism at face value. And she kind of said, I don't remember what the specific issue was, but she basically was like, well, actually there's some issues that, Mitch McConnell isn't helping the president on. And I'd be willing to work with him. So one, whatever, it's just stupid. Nobody buys it. If you're a serious Trump supporter, you're going to vote for the Republican option. But the idea, the way she did that before a Democratic primary, where it's like, look, this is still a Southern state. This is like, you are going to need to win and earn the support of African-American voters, Black voters. And you, in your first major media appearance, are talking about building alliance with this racist president that is like a core voting concern. So it's like she had nothing to say about the strikes that were going on of any substance. I mean, she just doesn't have, she was not connected to the Kentucky populist tradition, which is a really important political tradition that, needs to be revived. She had nothing, serious on labor, nothing serious on race. It was just the most vacuous poll-tested bullshit, which began with that enormous, like the first interview.
Imagine where we'd be if we didn't have to waste, if the people, Kentucky politics didn't have to waste so much time finding out that she's an empty suit with a whole bunch of money behind her, and could have just got behind Booker immediately and made a serious challenge against McConnell. And like that dynamic, I don't know who McGrath is, but like, I don't trust these corporate candidates to not like be fine with that outcome. Like, I'll be the one who beats McConnell or nobody will.
Right. No, I mean, but look, he ran an incredible primary and it looks like he's winning.
Yeah, you can't snow.
So these are, this is actually a very, very positive signal. I mean, this is great.
Right. Even in, voting suppressed Kentucky, the people can reject something so artificial for something authentic.
Exactly. And I mean, and what was interesting, and I, now because again, you always can't, what is a social media phenomenon, what's really happening, but he really started to pop on social media a couple of weeks ago. And it was definitely, he was out on the streets. He was talking about, he embraced the movements, and that was a major part of propelling him. And I think obviously also just day in and day out, seeing that obviously he's just a much better candidate with way more leadership potential. That stuff comes through as well.